Mm-hmm.
Hey everyone, everyone! Welcome to another live edition of the Bolt Crew podcast. Dave Palais, Josh Palais, Mario Heron talking to you on a Tuesday. Really excited about today's show, and I say that all the time. But look, anytime it feels like we're getting a little bit of information of what's going on at the Chargers, especially this time of year, and the stuff to talk about and debate and figure out we going in the right direction, I think is what everybody wants to know. This is one of those days. And so before we get things started, we invite the guest on to talk about OTAs. I want to mention that, again, if you haven't subscribed to the show, you need to subscribe. And at the same time, to like, you got to help us out. We need the like buttons. We need the thumbs up. All that will help us out. Again, we plan on giving stuff away this year. And for you to win cool stuff, you have to be a subscriber. That's just the only way it's going to be able to work for you. So it doesn't take a lot. Just two buttons, click them, and we're good to go. Comments on the side. We're looking at the comments as well. We'll try and get to some of these as well throughout the show, but appreciate the people that are already ready to go. But guys, we're going to start off the show before we get to some of the other topics. We're going to get to Fernando Ramirez. And Fernando Ramirez, of course, joined the show. He's from the Sporting Tribune, always does a great job, covers the Chargers, does a lot of driving back and forth to LA to give us inside information, obviously give his listeners inside information as well. But Fernando, again, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Guys, I mean, whenever you guys hit me up, I'm like, yeah, I'm willing to do it. I love it. You guys are awesome. So, by the way, when Josh texted me, I was at Costco and I was like, I wonder if Dave Palais around. I could see him and say hi to him. So, but thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, last time I was at Costco, someone screams out, "Hey Diablo" or "Fu Diablo" is what I think I got. But that's all right. All right, Fernando, I want to ask you about this Charger team right now. Again, rookie OTAs, the direction that this team is going right now with the guys they have, and I know Jim Harbaugh and the guys aren't going to say anything negative about the people they drafted, but from what you saw, you're a football guy. What did you see? What did you like? What made you a little bit concerned?
I still think the inexperience in the secondary is going to be the thing to kind of take a look at, just because you have Asante Samuel Jr. and then everybody else is a little bit. You have Fulton, who's obviously been in the league, but he's had injuries. You have Cam Hart. You have other players in the mix, but there's still a little bit of inexperience there. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm taking a look at when it comes to these guys this season. Cornerback is going to be huge because obviously you look at the Chiefs, and obviously that's the first team that you have to look at. You have to look at Kansas City. They have Worthy. They have Hollywood Brown, two guys that I'm interested, obviously, to see if they can get off the press or not when it comes to cornerbacks. But they're basically Olympic track stars over there. And then you have other receivers you're gonna have to worry about as well. You play Jamar Chase. You play a lot of top end talent when it comes to their schedule this season. But the secondary to me is kind of a focal point of where I'm keeping an eye at. Obviously, Joe Alt also and Junior Colson and all those guys, but really it's the secondary where I'm really going to be taking a look at, especially because Asante Samuel has been kind of up and down. Like the tackling's hit or miss. He had that 4 interception game against the 3 interception game against the Jaguars, and then it's kind of been up and down. There's times where he plays really well. There's times where he's more of a roller coaster kind of player. So now that it's Jesse Minter, it's Jim Harbaugh, let's see what different approach he takes. But secondary is probably the biggest cause of concern, if I was being completely honest.
Have you noticed any different attitude within the facility with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach, or is it similar to the way it was before with Brandon Staley?
Well, Justin Herbert's posting a lot more on Instagram, so
that is true.
But I feel like the guys are really excited. And I don't know if you guys saw this clip that the Chargers posted, but I think it was Dayon Henley. He was on Twitch or something like that, and he's like, "I'm going to FaceTime Jim Harbaugh." And Jim Harbaugh, I think, was at the Tom Brady roast, and he answers the FaceTime, and he's just laughing. So there's a lot of excitement around the building. There's a lot of excitement when it comes to the players. You can tell they're excited about this new direction. I told you guys back in January that one of the players had told me, if we get a coach like Coach Harbaugh here at the exit interviews, he was like, if we get a guy like Coach Harbaugh, he's going to change life for us in here. And you could tell already players are excited. They're jacked up. They're ready to see what this product can look like. And you can just tell there's a different kind of energy out on that field, especially with the coach that's here. It's a proven coach. The thing that I notice when it comes to this kind of when a coach takes over is how long they're going to be able to buy what you're selling. And with a guy like Jim Harbaugh, it's like, well, you look at his track record and it's like, okay, he's done this, he's done that, boom, boom. Like Josh Johnson is still in the NFL, and Josh Johnson came out of USD. Like there's other players that have succeeded. Now one of his ex-players is now his linebackers coach, Navarro Bowman. So you just look at the list of accomplishments, and you're like, okay, I can get behind this guy. I know that it works. His product works. Now in San Francisco, it worked. And him and Trent Baalke didn't get along. Can you imagine if a GM and him would have gotten along, had the same vision, had the same message? Things would have gone a lot better. They probably might have won the Super Bowl. So now that it's him and it's Joe Ortiz, both of them are intertwined. They both like each other. He's been with his brother John for years. Now he's here. So now it just seems like the energy's really picked up around the facility and especially with the players.
Mute, big guy.
Sorry, cops are coming around. They're on my block. You know what I'm saying?
Big little guy. Big little guy. How tall are you?
Yeah, 6'1".
Oh shoot. Okay, never mind. He is a big guy. I never would have guessed it. Well, at first I also thought you were a surfer that was out here riding the waves, brother, and all that stuff. And yeah,
I literally got asked. I got asked this weekend. They're like, what was it? They're like, oh, when's the last time you went surfing? I was just like at a restaurant. I was like, never. It's like, sorry to let you down there, brother. Yeah, I know. I always feel bad.
Yeah,
I got to figure that out at some point. I'll take lessons. You do. Yeah. Comment.
Is there waves in where do you live? Like Chicago? There's no waves out there.
No. Soon to be Virginia. So
maybe. Oh, you're moving to Virginia?
Yeah. Keep an eye out for it.
You're tired of all the sirens and stuff out there, or?
It's well, when the sirens are at you, it's not fun.
Okay, there you go. All right.
The big thing that coming out of Chargers camp so far is this early connection between Ladd and Herbert. And have you noticed that there's just kind of connection developing? And I have a theory that we're going to see Third and Ladd this year. And I just want to kind of hear your thoughts on how that kind of relationship's developing and where you kind of see that evolving to this year.
Did you say Third and Ladd?
Third and Ladd. Go to him on third down. Wait for it. It's gonna come up, dude.
Everybody just likes making T-shirts now out of phrases, I guess. And honestly, I wasn't there last week? Yeah, because I was at a graduation. But that's all the positivity that I will be there on Wednesday though. But that's all I've heard is that so far Herbert and he was going to Ladd, but honestly, I don't make a lot of it because they are in T-shirts and helmets and stuff, so I don't make much of it. But I expect that Ladd is going to be a guy that Herbert goes to often, just because it seemed like from his film from Georgia and everything that you've read about him is that he's Stevon, you're funny. He said he likes to find the cushion within the secondary. He finds his place, he catches the ball, and then he moves, kind of pivoting, and then he ends up bursting up the field. That's why when people were like, oh, he's like Cooper Kupp, I'm like, dude, like, no, he's not. Cooper Kupp and him are completely different. This kid has a lot of speed. He has a lot of movement. He kind of knows how to find cushion, and that's not really Cooper Kupp's game. It's completely different. So I'm interested to see what the connection will be tomorrow when I'm there. But all you hear is positivity. But I mean, obviously there's going to be a connection, especially with how good Ladd was coming out of school. And maybe the only thing that kind of hampered him were the injuries. That's maybe why it dropped him off down to the second round. But as of right now, it could be the steal for the Chargers that they were hoping to get, especially if Ladd ends up becoming what he is. But I think the kid has all the skill set to really take advantage of the defense. And like you said, I mean, Keenan Allen was the guy that Justin would go to on third down consistently, and now Keenan's not there. So now he's going to have to look for somebody else. So maybe it is going to be Third and Ladd, you said. So yeah, maybe that is going to be the thing. So there you go, Mario/Benjamin. You started something.
All right, give me some news on Joe Alt. I mean, we know he's just a monster of a man, but at the same time, Joe Alt, you're hearing different things, kind of like what Josh was saying before the draft. Is a lot that's coming out, about possible position changes and what happens to him adjusting to the NFL. Like, it's tough enough making a transition again to the NFL when you're facing the best in the world. But for Joe Alt, the Chargers aren't going to say anything negative about him. Or what are you hearing about Joe Alt?
Well, I mean, there's obviously going to be things that he's going to struggle with, especially moving from left to right. But he has he has great coaches to kind of help him with that transition. I do want to ask him though if he's reached out to Tristan Wirfs or Penei, because sometimes when players have to do stuff like that, they reach out to other players who have done it and kind of get advice. So I'm wondering if, because obviously we all know if he wanted advice, he could just ask. He could obviously ask Justin Herbert, hey, is there any way you can help me out and get me Penei's number, since they were teammates at Oregon? But that's usually what players end up doing. But see, the thing about him is until training camp, we're not really going to know, because T-shirts and everything, that really doesn't help offensive linemen. I remember, when was it? In 2000, it was when Storm Norton came in. I think it was like 2019. I remember I asked Joey, or it was Joey. It was Melvin Ingram. I asked him, hey, what did you think about the way Storm Norton kind of was able to block you today? He's like, come on, Fernando, we're in T-shirts. He's like, yeah, when we get pads on, that's when it really changes, and that's when it's all going to get revved up. I'm like, oh, okay. And later he grabs me. He's like, rookie mistake, man. He's like, watch what happens in training camp. And yeah, lo and behold, in training camp, I saw exactly what would happen. So as of right now, I don't think there's any cause for concern for any of that, just because, everything's going to change once they get the pads on. And the energy that I've gotten so far out of Jim Harbaugh is that if once we get him again at the podium, that's all he's going to say. I can't wait to get these guys in pads. I can't wait to get these guys going. And so that's exactly what, especially him being such a, I don't want to call him a meathead, but that's essentially what he is. I think he's going to be like, yeah, pads. So I don't think there's any cause of concern, but I've heard positive things about film and study, and that he's been on it so far. So I mean, that's good news.
Have you heard any news about Junior Colson's injury? Is it anything serious? And if you had to make a prediction, Fernando, who would have a better year coming up between Junior Colson and Dan Henley? Who would you say?
Oof. No news yet. And again, the problem with it is that during OTAs, because there are like, there's weeks in between everything, we won't get an update until tomorrow. So I'm sure tomorrow we'll get an update from him. So I do want to go Colson, just because he has been in that system. He knows what it takes to be in that system. But Deion Henley's the guy that really interests me, just because of all the different positions he's played, the athleticism. He looks like he could fit this system really well. And I know that a lot of Charger fans weren't happy last year, because last year he never got an opportunity. They would use Nick Neiman. They would use other guys, and people were like, Amen Agbanya. They'd be like, why are they not using their third round player? And there was a lot of excitement about him, especially because Deion did make a lot of plays on special teams. So now the problem is, okay, what system are they going to want to run with these linebackers and everything? So I'll go Junior Colson, just because he's been in this system before. So that's kind of a cheat code. But I wouldn't be surprised if Deion Henley had a good year for him, just because it seems like his athleticism could really be used in a different way. And I've heard Jim mention him, Jesse's mentioned him. So I think they see big things in Deion, and that's a positive for them, especially if Jim Harbaugh picks up your phone, your FaceTime or whatever. I mean, that's big. That's big news right there. So I think Deion is in for a year where he's going to get a lot more playing time, and rightfully so, especially because last year, like I said, he almost got none as a linebacker.
Just first off, just still can't get over the fact that Jim Harbaugh was at Tom Brady's roast. Like, he had to be the most uncomfortable guy there to sit next to the whole time. But I
would have loved to have seen Jim Harbaugh hit the mic and what he could have done. I thought Bill Belichick did a great job on the roast. Actually, I was actually pretty impressed with what he said. So I think between the Pat McAfee draft day thing and this, I'm actually really interested to see what Bill Belichick's going to be like if he actually does the Manning cast all season long. I'm actually interested to see what he says when it comes to that, especially because he kind of did take a shot at the Patriots when talking about Drake May and everything during that draft thing. I just heard that clip. I was like, oh, Bill Belichick just sounds a little he sounds a little bitter, but I could understand why, I guess.
Yeah, and especially, anyone can do better than Ben Affleck. I mean, that guy really blew it. So shout out to that guy. All right. The other thing I want to ask you is, we rip on Bosa, but Bosa was there at OTAs. Mac was there. So one, were you kind of surprised by those two veterans kind of showing up to camp, and how much does it mean, do you think, to the younger guys and the culture of Harbaugh studying that two veteran guys are there at OTAs, that impact it has, and also the Thule thing. Thule, the first line and everything, they post a little clip of it, of Harbaugh preaching about it. Do you expect a big year from Thule? And if you had to take someone that had more sacks this year, Thule or Bosa? Because I know what Dave would pick. It'd be Bosa.
Yeah, I'm sure Dave would go that way. Oof. So obviously, when you get two veteran names like Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa coming in, that's a huge boost. But I'm not surprised by it, just because it's a new coaching staff. They obviously decided to take pay cuts to stay with the team and everything. So I'm not surprised that they're in this quickly. It seems like Nick also went back early with the 49ers as well, so he's there too. But it just seems like Joey and Khalil know that this is a big opportunity for them, especially with the new coaching staff. But I actually expect all four pass rushers to kind of have a big year. I think Thule's going to is going to have a more impactful year. I felt like last year he started off really well, and then he kind of went, and he even said it. He's like, I kind of went through that wave of the rookie season where everybody starts catching up. And obviously the Joey Bosa injury didn't help because he got more playing time. He couldn't have the big impact that he had at the beginning when it was all three of them together on the field. So I completely understand that. But I think even Bud Dupree could be in for a big year, just because that's going to be a healthy rotation. If you keep those four, that's going to be a healthy rotation of pretty good pass rushers going in there. And then, hey, if you wanted to, you could even throw all four of them out there on the field at the same time and do different things with them. So I think if I had to pick right now, Dave's going to get at me for this one. If healthy, I think Joey Bosa might be in for a big year, just because in short stints, we saw it last year, especially that game against, and I know the Jets had all their injuries, but I thought Joey had a flashback of what he could be if he was healthy. And then the Tennessee game, I thought Joey also had a very good game. But I think this year, with the new coaching staff, with the new athletic trainers, with everything that they've kind of brought in, I expect Joey to be healthy this year and have an impact. So I don't think Thule will be far behind, though. But I think I think Joey's in for a big year, especially with everything that he knows. There's a lot on the line for him, to be honest. There's a lot on the line for him, whether it's money, whether it's playing time, whether it's all of that. I think Joey knows what how big this year is for him, and I think he'll step up to the plate and he'll be able to do he'll be able to have a big impact for this defense.
I'm glad you brought it up. That's exactly what I said last week, and someone in the chat went after me for saying Joey has a lot to prove. I mean, Joey has a ton to prove. Yeah, he's making a lot of money, but Joey's basically going to make, what you remember about Joey Bosa is going to come out this year in the 2024 season, depending what kind of effort you see, what kind of numbers he puts up. And is he a guy that basically made a ton of money and wasn't available, or is he a guy that helps this team win? I am worried about going into the season, Fernando. I'm worried about Joey Bosa's fatigued right shoulder. The one where he puts his arm up and says, hey, I can't go. Get me out. It's third down, 3rd and 9, and maybe I could get a sack here, but I'm winded, so my lungs are burning. Hey, get me out. Where's Bud Dupree? I'm worried about the shoulder, if it's going to hold up. In all honesty, man, I've had enough. And I think a lot of Charger fans have too. And if you sit there and you stop looking at the game with your heart and you start looking at your head, you're going, this guy's not available when this team needs him most. I don't think his teammates don't know that as well. And so my question leading in is, starting tomorrow, you have voluntary OTAs, okay? So you have 3 days and voluntary. Look, you have a new coach. You better be there. You aren't there. That's the news, that you aren't there. Voluntary means who really wants this. That's what coaches are looking at. There's no such thing as voluntary in anything. in sports. I don't care if it's high school, college, or pros. Joey Bosa needs to show, hey, I'm all in. And there's a reason Jim Harbaugh, after the interview process, decided to keep me on this roster. They're big name guys that he didn't keep. People still shocked Keenan Allen was traded for a fourth round pick. But Joey Bosa passed the interview process. He better become ready to go starting tomorrow. And that's what I want to see. I want to see if everything you just said, Fernando, and everything I just called him out on comes true, because this team is a much better team when Joey Bosa plays. The frustration level is Joey Bosa going to be available?
I love the compliment and then the backhanded slap. I love that. No. And I'm sure Joey knows about it too. I mean, you've seen Nick has been in 2 Super Bowls now, and Joey hasn't been in any. He's been
watching the Super Bowls.
Patriots, Baltimore, and Jacksonville. So 3 playoff games is what Joey's had, when his brother obviously has had 2 Super Bowl trips. So yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from, Dave, and I understand the frustration around Bosa, but there's a reason why Jim Harbaugh decided to keep him, like you said. And I think it's because they understand the impact. And I think they understand that in a division with Patrick Mahomes, in a conference with CJ Stroud and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and all these guys that they're going to have to compete against, you're going to need guys to get after the passer. That's why they went to go get Bud Dupree. Guys, let's be honest. And I'm not talking about, I'll leave, let's just go to the previous regime. Do you really think the previous regime would have gone out to go get another go get another good pass rusher like they did with Bud Dupree? No, they probably would have stayed and said, you know what, Chris Rumph is still going to develop. He's still going to do this. He's still going to do that. And instead, they decided, no, let's get 4 good pass rushers, 4 guys that can contribute to get after Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, whoever you want. But that was the reason why I feel I was shocked at the beginning, thinking, wow, you let go of Keenan Allen like that. But then I thought about it and I'm like, wait, they're thinking, hey, we have Justin Herbert. We have the ultimate weapon. We can get anybody around him. Basically, if he's as great as we think he is, we can get any sort of guys around him and he could produce. On the defensive side, we have a lot of holes on that defense. What are we going to do to kind of mix and match and get it to be better? Well, your secondary, like I said at the beginning, is going to be a little bit, what do the kids say? Sus. So it's going to be a little bit sus. But when it comes to the pass rushing, well, hell, let's get after the quarterback. Let's get on him. Let's bring him down, and let's get in his face constantly. Well, that's why you get Bud Dupree. That's why you have Thule. And they keep on they've mentioned Thule multiple times. So then you go over and you get Joey and you have Khalil. And I've heard people say, well, he had 6 sacks against one team. If you take away 4 of those sacks, he still had 13 sacks. That's still a hell of an amount of sacks. So I definitely think that, like you said, yes, Joey, like I said, Joey has a lot to prove this year, and I'm sure he knows it. But now it's going to be about making a contribution, playing all 17 games, being a member, a part of this, because now there's no excuses. I mean, I know the head coach has been questionable the last few head coach, probably since Marty. There's been questionable, even though Anthony Lynn, I thought, was the one that had the most control out of all the head coaches since. But now you have a real head coach. You have somebody that knows how to impact the game. You have good coaches around them. And now it's about going out there and proving that they can put something consistent out on the field. So that's why I kind of lean more towards, I understand what they did, keeping Joey and keeping Khalil instead of Mike and Keenan. So, but yeah, Dave, you're 1,000% right. It's a big year for him, especially because not just his teammates, not just the coaches, the rest of the league is going to be paying attention, and they're going to be like, is he really worth that much money? Is he really worth this? So I completely understand where you're coming from when it comes to that.
Fernando, I know they're not playing real football right now. It's just OTAs. But has there been anybody that's been the talk of the facility, somebody that's been turning heads? Has it been Quentin Johnson, for God's sakes? Is there somebody that we want to rely on this year that has done well so far?
No, I think it's Ladd. I think Ladd's the guy that everybody's really excited about. I think Ladd is a guy that, obviously, like we said, everybody was trying to find a comp for him, and they go with Cooper Kupp. They go with they go with different white receivers, and it's like, well, no, he might be a little bit more Tyler Lockett. He might be more he could be a different kind of player. So but I think Ladd is the guy that everybody's excited to see. I think when it comes to the season, though, I think everybody's excited to see what Joe Alt is going to be, especially, hey, right off the bat, you have Max Crosby. And if you guys noticed a couple of years ago, especially in that game, that 2021 game, the win and you're in against the Raiders, the Raiders were not putting Max Crosby on the side of Rashawn Slater. They were putting him on the opposite side. I think Storm Norton was starting at right tackle. So now if the Chargers have exactly what they believe that they have, there's not going to be hey, we can move Max Crosby over here to take advantage or put him on that side to get to take advantage of this. No, it's you want it solidified on both sides, and that's what the Chargers try to do. But the one interesting player that I'm interested to see and to see him progress through training camp and all that is going to be Brendan Rice. Obviously, a tough day for him on draft day. Then he ends up being he was at the funeral for his best friend. He ends up getting drafted, and then obviously he's going to have to be fighting for a position, especially because the Chargers ended up bringing in DJ Chark. I'm sure they're not done bringing in receivers. By the way, I saw ESPN had that they think that the Chargers are going to make a trade for T. Higgins. I'm like, why would you get rid of Keenan Allen at his asking price and bring in T. Higgins and then give him a big time contract as well? So I thought that was a little bit weird, but I guess it's just to get clicks in a sense. I'd be surprised if they made a move for T. Higgins. But just going back to that, I think there's a lot of excitement with a lot of the draft picks. Cam Hart is a guy that I'm actually really I'm going to be keeping an eye on during camp and everything. I remember when I was at Notre Dame for a couple of months. The two names were Cam Hart and Joe Alt that everybody kept on talking about as a level of excitement. Besides Marcus Freeman, obviously, everybody was excited to see what he would be. But everybody was excited to see what Joe Alt and what Cam Hart could turn into. And now both of them are on the Chargers. So Cam Hart is a guy that's lengthy. If you guys go back and look at him against Marvin Harrison Jr., he actually did a really good job against him when Ohio State played Notre Dame. So I'm interested to see those kinds of, but I guess all eyes are on the rookies just because of all the question marks and how they're going to be plug and played and everything. But I think those guys that I've mentioned, but I think right now, Ladd McConkey, but I think there's deeper and deeper interest when it comes to the rest of the players. When are you guys going to go to training camp at all? Are you guys planning on anything like that? Any training camps or?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to. When are you coming out?
Just let me know when.
No. Well, I'd love to see you. I'm talking to Mr. Benjamin over here. What you've always said? Oh, I'm going to come out. I've never seen you out here.
I know we're literally that's like the thing we're working on right now is trying to narrow down a date, and I'm going to fly out there.
You
and
better
we'll get
hit
going.
me up and let me know so we can go grab food or grab a beer or whatever. Because
well, who do you think I'm staying with, Fernando? They offered your place.
Yeah, am I behind? Oh, by the way, I actually real quick, my bad. I'll Ben, you can or whatever your name is. Somebody's asking about Tony Jefferson. Tony Jefferson and I went to high school together, actually, and I think Tony would actually be an interesting name to keep an eye out on for the Chargers. I think he's a guy that is a sure tackler, and I think that the Chargers he would benefit a lot going from John to Jim. I think Baltimore is really going to try and keep him because I know that they love Tony, but I think he'd be an interesting addition to the Chargers, especially because he's a sure tackler. He's a guy that that gets in there and he's actually really good blitzing as well. So I wouldn't mind. I would think that Tony would be a big addition for the Chargers, especially fighting through camp and everything. I think he'd be a good addition. And Eric Weddle always talks about because we both know Eric or whatever. Eric is always talking about how great of a teammate Tony was when he was in Baltimore. So I think Tony would actually be a really good addition for the Chargers.
Yeah, that'd be something else. That'd be something else Fernando, man, of course, we appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Of course. Is that Demetrius? Am I I'm a character? If that's a character, I appreciate it. But I just see I don't know if it's cheater. I haven't cheated on my diet, so that can't be it.
I
So
think
I
you
don't know
said.
what that
I think
is.
you meant you're a chat. You talk. You're a chat.
Oh yeah. I do chalk. If that's
why we brought you on.
Chatterbox. Oh, okay. My bad. Demetrius, I appreciate that. If that's a compliment, I appreciate it. If that's a dig, I'll try and work on it. But
yeah, seems like a compliment. Put a smiling face that I love it.
Okay,
yeah, it was
awesome.
a compliment.
Appreciate it, Demetrius. Hey guys, I appreciate you guys having me on. And again, anytime you guys need me, I'm always down. And Josh, if you're out here, let me know because we should get together. You know what? One day we should try and get Bernie together with us as well. That'd be fun. Look at him.
Love that.
He knows. He knows. Dave knows. That would be a hell of a time. Mario, you can zoom in or call in or FaceTime.
Hey,
unless you're out here.
I'll do a surprise. I'll just knock on your door one day.
Yeah, no.
With my Costco card, by the way. I'm joining the Costco club. The new place I'm moving to is Costco right next door to me. Excited to be among the elites.
Look at how excited he is about joining. That's how you know, like, we're getting old. Like when you get excited about a Costco membership. But the only young guy in here is Dave. But Dave, appreciate you. Josh, appreciate you. Ben, appreciate you guys. Have a good one. And you guys are awesome. Much love, guys.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you,
That's Fernando Ramirez right there. Sporting Tribune always does a great job. I love that he just started reading the comments on the side of the page. You know, it's like, hey, this show's mine now. I'm just going to start reading the comments on the side.
Yeah.
Oh my
love
gosh.
It.
Yeah.
Oh my
Race
gosh.
culture.
There you go. All right. Real quick on the OTAs. All right. So, you know, the rumor is, you know, who are the guys people are talking about? We always want to know who are the guys that we're getting excited about. And it's exactly what we thought it was going to be, right? It's Lad McConkey, and he can goof on all you want, Marty. I think you're right. You know, third and Lad, I think you're right. And it's Junior Colson. And I don't think anyone's surprised by Colson for the fact that he already knows the system. He knows the system better than anyone. How often does that happen that a rookie comes to the NFL and he knows the system better than the other guys who are the vets on what's happening? I expect him, going back to your question to him, Josh, he will be the one that has the major impact. And there's a reason why Jim Harbaugh brought him in. Look, Jim Harbaugh, as we've, you know, kind of joked about on the show a bunch of times, how he doesn't have friends. He's just all about winning. There's no way he would have put his name on a guy from Michigan, knowing everyone's going, hey, is that special treatment because it's a Michigan guy? He does not care. He just knows that guy's coming in here and that guy knows our defense and that guy is an NFL player and he's going to help the Chargers win for years to come. And that's why he put faith in bringing him in. The idea that those two guys shined didn't surprise me. The Joe Alt thing, man, is very interesting because people want to take shots at it. Josh, you were the first one to touch on it. It started coming out more and more as you got closer to the draft about changing from left side to right side and how tough is it. And of course, Joe Alt said all the right things. I mean, he said everything that you want, you know, a player in that position to say. If it was my son, I would tell him to say the same things he said. But look, man, there was concern just last week about it. And so it kind of makes me a little bit nervous. Not saying he's not going to be able to make the transition, but it does make me a little bit nervous when you're talking about the 5th overall pick.
Why does it make you nervous about Joe Alt? Just because he hasn't played right tackle?
Because they're bringing him in to play that position and never done it. I don't know. Call me crazy. I mean, look, I've never been a welder, but if you asked me to put your kid's swing set together in the backyard and with my welding tools and said, all right, they're good to go, and I would leave, you sticking your kids on that thing? Probably not, right? You don't hire me at Disneyland to fix the roller coaster. Hey, I've never run one of these welding machines before, but guess what? I think it's good to go. We'll see you later. Let me know how it turns out. No, you wouldn't trust me. And right now, you know, I'm not so sure. Look, it should work out. The guy's as big as a house. I mean, like, he's bigger than I think we even anticipated. They showed that picture of him blocking a guy that's like 6'4", and it looks like he's, you know, fighting a little person. And you're like, what the hell, dude? This guy's a monster. So, yeah, well, I assume he'll be great. Yes. Is there concern? Yes. And I guarantee in his mind, there's concern as well.
Of course, there's a concern. I mean, you have to be concerned if you're playing a new position. You're going against elite edge rushers every single game, right? In college, they say, you know, every game isn't a true test. If you're at that level of Joe Alt, where you're just that good, some weeks are easy compared to others. In the NFL, we obviously know there's no easy weeks. Even when they play the Panthers in week 2, That's not an easy week. It's still an NFL team. He's going to get tested right off the bat with Max Crosby. He has TJ Watt in week 3. And then every week after that, every team has an elite pass rusher in the NFL at this level, except for the Atlanta Falcons, who didn't want to draft Dallas Turner because they're idiots. But besides that, I mean, you're really going to go against somebody every week that's going to be a real test for you. I do believe in Joe Alt. Maybe I'm just talking myself into the pick because we have to stick with our pick. But it makes sense, man. I understand why they want to protect Justin Herbert. He hasn't been protected the last few years. And Trey Pipkins, from what we've heard, is moving to guard. So if they looked at Trey Pipkins going into the draft as a guard, then I think that's really why Joe Alt was selected as the right tackle.
And I'm trying to, like, remember what Fenton was saying too, like, don't put too much stock in how the O-line and D-line look right now. You know, like, we're in OTAs. Shorts looks a lot different than pads. And I'm not going to hit the panic button, I think, until we get in training camp, and then we kind of see how he's moving against the number ones, against number twos. If it gets to a point where we're like, all right, this is not really looking good, then we kind of press panic button. Because like you said, Josh, it's not like you have an easy start to the year. You have arguably the best pass rusher coming at you in a rivalry game, first game of the year. When there's like a good amount of chirping that goes back and forth throughout the whole offseason. And then, you know, just 2 weeks later, you face the other guy that they compare him to in TJ Watt. You know, life's not going to get any easier. And if I'm a defensive coordinator too, Dave, and I'm facing the Chargers and I have them week 1, you bet your ass I'm targeting Joe Alt. Like, I'm going to make sure that you're scared crapless for that first game. You know, I'm going to make sure that you feel yourself being a rookie, feel that experience that you have against my guys that are experienced. So, don't put too much stock in OTAs now. We'll know the truth as it comes. And until then, just enjoy guys in shorts playing football.
And that's what's always funny, right? The guys in shorts playing football, because we said no one ever looked better than Larry English, and Larry English was a terrible player. I mean, when Fernando told the story about Joey Bosa, says, we'll see. Let's put the pads on and we'll see. Anyone who's ever played football, I don't care what level it is, knows it is night and day with the pads on. I mean, you see it all the time, right? I mean, Mario, you played even high school football, and you know that, hey, the pads come on and you see the guys who are, you know, scared. All of a sudden, yeah. it's a whole different story of, wait, that guy's afraid. And then you find out, you run into guys that always kind of freak me out a little bit, even when they get older, and you run into guys in their 30s, 40s, and they're like, I just love to hit people. And you're like, still? like there's something about them that they're sitting in algebra at 10:30 in the morning, and all they're thinking about is 2:30 when they get to hit somebody. Like that's a borderline psycho. You know what I mean? Like, that's all they think about is just hitting people and can't get enough hitting people. And you're like, fine. That's the way it is. So this Charger team is going to be interesting. One thing, call me crazy because I wasn't there to interview him. But when I watch Justin Herbert, even now in May, Justin Herbert seems like he's matured 5 years. He just seems like a different guy. And I'm not talking to you athletically. The way he carries himself, his body language, things seem a little bit different with Justin Herbert. Am I crazy? Have you guys noticed this?
Dude, 100% agree with you. The way he looks just on the videos you see on social media, 180, completely different guy. Looks so easygoing, relaxed. Like the team actually has a chance this year. Before, he looks like, oh, I'm surrounded by a bunch of idiots. Like I have no faith in this team. I don't like what we're doing here. And now it looks like he can just be a quarterback and he doesn't have to worry about carrying the coaches. That's the way I see it, Mario.
I think there's definitely something to that. Like, he has a system that, you know, we don't know if he truly didn't believe in, say, a system or what, but I think there is something to that. There's a more structure, I would say, in the Chargers organization right now. And when there's more structure, everyone's more at ease, right? Like my mom has this saying, she's that every child wants to be disciplined. They just don't know it. And then she says, and that carries into adulthood. And I was like, all right, that's actually kind of a good point. Like, everyone kind of needs this when they need structure. And I think when that happens, there's more people at ease. And it creates success for a lot of others and creates success for a whole team. And that's what they're kind of going for right now. I'm loving what I see from it. And I'm already going to go ahead and throw, I don't know how you do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do the legal thing, the little R on top of the third and lad. And if anyone of you guys try to copy that in the comments or anyone listening, coming after you with somewhere I'll get off a billboard on the drive over to DC.
Dude, I think my favorite part of the show and the history of the show might have been what you just said a second ago about how everyone wants to be disciplined. They just don't know it. This is coming from the guy that sent Josh and I a group message the other day at 2:30 in the morning with a full-out wrestling match between you and your brother.
Yep.
Like, you guys are grown adult men just ripping the house apart, going full out. But yet your mom saying you guys want to be disciplined?
I lost that one too. And I did a bad cheap shot to get back to him.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was bad. It got really violent. Actually, we had to apologize to each other.
Did you have to apologize to your dad who said take it outside?
No, but my cousin did have a talk with us after. He goes, guys. So that was good.
It's good stuff.
You know, Mario,
Good.
I couldn't agree more with Mario about what he just said. I think that's why a lot of athletes have an issue going into the real world after college sports or professional sports, is that discipline of you don't even need to do anything. It's laid out for you, right? Your schedule, you're gonna have practice at this time, you're gonna have class at this time, games on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is. When you get out into the real world, it's a free-for-all, right? You can do whatever you want all the time. I feel like Justin Herbert now, like, you can just be the quarterback. Like, just play quarterback. You don't have to worry about the defense letting you down every single game. You don't have to worry about your coach being a complete imbecile. Like, I'll handle the coaching part. You handle the quarterback part. We'll be okay. Like, rest easy. You can breathe now. That's the way it looks to me. I mean, I think that's what he's feeling, at least.
Yeah, I hope so. Real quick, I want to bring this up because we talk about Herbert, and Herbert seemed like he's matured. Not only, of course, do you have a coach that's in on a timeline that is, we're going to win right now. I think as Charger fans, or if you're a fan of any NFL team, you want a coach where he doesn't come in and say there's a 3-year plan, right, or a 5-year plan. The old Rich McKay line when he was coach of the Buccaneers, when he said we have a 5-year plan, and they asked why 5 years. He goes, because of my contract's 5 years. Like, Jim's not in it for the money. Jim's in it to win right now and build on his legacy. And the fact that there's basically a time frame of, guys, let's go. We're going right now. And I think that's what you're seeing. One of the things Jim Harbaugh did, and Chase Daniel was talking about it on a podcast this week. I'd give credit to the podcast, but I can't remember, is he made the comment that Shane Day was his favorite guy, his favorite coach that the Chargers had. And Shane Day was the Chargers passing coordinator. And when Brandon Staley came in, he realized there was a special relationship between those two. So what do you think he did? Instead of fostering that relationship, he fired Shane Day. Didn't like it. Didn't like the fact that he had a guy that he was connected to and a guy he got along with great. And he kicked him off the Chargers, and he was gone. By the way, you know what team he was with last year, Shane Day? He was with the Texans. CJ Stroud did pretty damn good, Guess what Jim Harbaugh did as soon as he got the job? He brought him back. So now you bring back his favorite coach. You got his passing coordinator. You keep the quarterback happy, and you put everybody on the same page, somebody that he has faith in, and you're going fantastic news for Justin Herbert and for the Chargers. But I thought it was very weird that Brandon Staley would do that. I mean, you talk about how insecure are you as a person that you're going to get rid of somebody in the system because you're afraid the quarterback likes him more than you. What the hell are we talking about? There are plenty of quarterbacks in the league that didn't care for the head coach. But the quarterback still has to figure out the game plan and follow the game plan. It's very strange.
Dude, I don't like Brandon Staley on the field or off the field. I hated the way he went about his post-game interviews where he put all the blame on the players. I was prepared. I had a great game plan. We just didn't execute the game plan. No, dude, you're the head coach and you run the defense. So when the defense looks like ass, you look like an idiot. Like, don't put it out on the players. You're the one that's in control of everything. Obviously, Justin Herbert was not a fan of Brandon Staley. I mean, like I just said, you could see by the way he went about his business, he was not confident in the team. How could you be? It seemed like the Chargers were down 14-0 before the game even started. I'm so happy Brandon Staley's gone, man. Getting Jim Harbaugh, I swear to God, that's like another first-round pick. I'm so happy, dude. We finally have a chance, Mario.
The thing doesn't make sense about Staley either is, you have still a pretty young QB. If I'm the head coach and I see, he has a good relationship with the quarterback's coach, look, I'm keeping that. I want that young QB to be as comfortable as possible, especially coming off the rookie year he had. Like, why not keep that in place? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, did he feel threatened by it? Like, maybe Staley did. The whole thing, it just doesn't check out to me, and it ended up hurting Herbert instead of helping making that move. And, like you said, Josh, thank God for Harbaugh. He brings him back. He's coming off of working on the most impressive offense of last year. Huge benefit towards it. And, with bringing in Greg Roman, who, let's be honest, that offensive coordinator is not, a quarterback's best friend, if we're going to be completely honest. So I think having a guy that he trusted very early on in his career, and to bring him back around where Herbert is a little bit more mature and has a little bit more miles on him and seeing a couple more defenses, I think that's huge. And to kind of be that balancing act between him and Roman, that's huge. So I'm all for it. Just another example of a mistake that Staley made that, hopefully he learns from if he gets another shot at this head coaching thing. But if he doesn't, do it for a team that no one likes, like the Broncos or, anyone else. Green Bay. Go to Green Bay.
There you go. One thing Fernando brought up was T. Higgins, and why would you go and bring a guy and we'd have to pay him when you didn't want to pay a guy like Keenan Allen? One thing I'll say is obviously there's a huge age difference, but the other thing is a stat that I saw that I thought was really interesting as far as Josh Palmer. And we said, can Josh Palmer step up? This is from Joe Beldner from the Fantasy Footballers. He said Josh Palmer has had 5 games with 99-plus receiving yards in the last 2 seasons. It's the same amount as Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, and Scary Terry McLaurin. Does that surprise you that Josh Palmer has been that effective?
Yeah, it does surprise me. Josh Palmer's good, man. I think he's going to have a really good year. I just don't think he's a true number one.
He hasn't been healthy.
He can't stay healthy. He hasn't proven it for a long period of time. But when he does play well, he plays well. I mean, he's played well when he's been asked to step up. He's really going to be asked to step up this year being the number one receiver. So what's he going to do?
I think you nailed it on the head right there. You said, like, when there's moments when, like, the Chargers all right, well, in this game, you're going to have to be the number one guy. And he did do that. And he did that to the best level that he could. Now we just need that every week. Now it's just like, hey, week 7, everyone's out. You got to play well. Great. I got it. Like, now it's got to be every single week they has to do that. But the guys on that list, though, too, Dave, like, I mean, Garrett Wilson had Zach Wilson throwing to him. Like, okay. Like, Michael Pittman had some really bad guys throw to him this past couple of years. And then, DK Metcalf can be up and down. DeAndre Hopkins, again, who the hell has been throwing him the ball? Nobody. And then Scary Terry. Let's just be nice to Scary Terry. Come on. That's an indie legend.
There you go. Do you guys want to get some of these comments on the side?
Yeah, people want to know if you beat Point Loma.
All right, so Mar, I'm going to give you some information as well as this thing went. So for people who aren't aware, you missed the show last week. As I said, it's been my fault this entire spring that we aren't consistent on start times for the show because I coach high school baseball here in San Diego. My team was playing for the city championship on Friday night. We played Point Loma, as Mara called it something different the other day. He didn't do it on purpose for people who got upset. But at the same time, Bria doesn't know the city's in San Diego.
Yeah.
So we play in the championship game, Mario, run against a buzzsaw and a pitcher that's absolutely outstanding. Our pitcher did very well. Mario, both teams basically gave up one hit each. That's it.
Wow.
1 hit each. The difference is we lost 2-0. I had a player on my team who, unfortunately, my best player made 2 errors. That 1 hit came with 2 guys on base. 2-0 final score. We end up losing the game. Will I ever get over it? No. The game lasted an hour and 20 minutes. I've thought about it for 80 hours. Yeah, it'll bother me.
But did you have fun? Did you have fun?
Have a good time.
I didn't. I did not have fun. Losing is never fun. Just like I hold the Chargers to a high standard, I hold my guys to a high standard too.
I hope Joey Bosa has a high school baseball podcast where he just rips you.
Just rips the hell out of me. Honestly, Josh watched it on stream. There's nothing I could have done. Is there anything I could have done, Josh?
No, dude. The kid was too good.
The kid was great. I mean, the kid was absolutely great. So what am I going to do?
Mario, put up Demetrius's question if you could.
Yes, of course.
All right, I'd like to answer this one first. It says from Demetrius Jones, would you guys say Herbert can have a sneaky good MVP year? No, and I'll tell you why I don't think he can. For him to have an MVP year, what would that mean for a quarterback? That would mean you probably throw around 40 touchdown passes and you have 1,000,000 yards, right? That's how you have, and you have to win your division most likely. So are the Chargers good enough right now to beat the Chiefs? Only if Mahomes or Kelsey get injured. That's the only way the Chargers right now, I think, could take control of the division. And then 40 touchdowns. Who's catching these touchdowns for the team we have right now? That would mean Josh Palmer and Lad McConkey have to have like 30 touchdowns combined at least. Is that going to happen? I don't think so. I think Justin Herbert can have a really good year, but I don't think he has enough weapons around him to have an MVP season.
I agree with you, and I don't think Roman's going to throw the football as much for that to happen either. Like, I just don't think that's just in the playbook right now for him. Like you said, if for this to happen, I think if that happens, go ahead and parlay that with offensive rookie of the year being Lad McConkey. So that means he had just an unreal season. Had 12 touchdowns, 1,000-yard receiving. Like, he had just an unbelievable year. That would need to go into a Herbert MVP year, or they get T. Higgins, and T. Higgins becomes a number one guy, far better than anyone. Those are only really routes I see, Dave. Like, that's the only way I see him having like a sneaky MVP year. I just don't think it's in the cards this year, not next year. You can talk to me and take me on a date and flirt me into thinking that one, but not this year, not in 2024.
Yeah, it's one of those things right here, as Josh said. I think most importantly on those individual awards is you have to win your division. And look, we all want our guy to win these awards, but I'll be honest, I think I'm just at the stage at my age of my life where I don't give a rat's ass. Like, I don't get any money from the bonus that he gets from winning an MVP. I don't care. I just don't care. None of the MVP awards, Rookie of the Year, none of them mean a lot to me. What means a lot to me is winning that Super Bowl. That's what I'm chasing. I mean, I want to see that happen before I'm done watching football. You got to build a trophy case. It's embarrassing and ridiculous at this point. Waited way too long.
Yeah. Mario, can you put up the question from Jacob Manley at the beginning of the show?
Yeah. This one?
Okay. Yep. You can answer it first.
Which draft pick has the most impact this season for all the listeners? And thanks for subscribing. I think it's Junior Colson. I said that earlier on draft night. I still think it's going to be him. He's going to have the biggest impact. Linebacker spot, defense that he knows, a very physical linebacker that's going to create that kind of pop that we've always been needing the past 2 years. I think it's going to be Junior Colson. That's going to be it. A second close, like tier 1 and tier 1A. Here, Dave, I think would be Lad McConkey, but I'm still a big believer in Junior being that biggest impact player straight off rookie year.
I'm too. I think Junior Colson's going to be the guy that has the biggest impact as far as rookies go.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. Junior Colson, he played best against the best teams last year. He had 11 tackles against Alabama. I think he had 10 tackles against Alabama, 11 tackles against Ohio State. I expect him to be the starting middle linebacker week 1. I think Junior Colson's going to make a huge impact.
There you go.
There you go. The other
All
one
right.
that was funny was over under Dave being sunburned.
Dude, why do you guys say that? I'm not sunburned. I don't think I am. I think my days in the sun are out for a while. I don't know. I have been in the sun a lot since, God dang, going back to September when we started this baseball season. But the last 5 days, I think I look at Josh all the time because I'm like, well, we're related, so our skin color should look pretty much the same. But I do look darker than Josh. I don't know. You're on a boat, weren't you all weekend?
Dude, I was on a boat. I got sick because I was dehydrated. I should be darker, but super, super white.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I don't think I'm sunburned. Yeah. I don't know.
Because
Sunscreen?
you had a night game on Friday.
Ooh. There you go. Yeah, I had a night game. What the hell, dude? I shouldn't be sunburned at all. Hey, Mario, when's this big move to Virginia? Since you announced it on the show.
Yeah, so it's Saturday. Movers come, are packing stuff up. Sunday, I'm driving there, and then should be like fully moved in Monday morning. It's like the goal is to be fully moved.
Wow.
When I say fully moved, I mean just stuff in the apartment. I guarantee you, I will not be fully moved like in until like I don't know, probably 2 weeks. Knowing myself, I'm in this point, guys, where I don't know if I should say this that loud, but the tables I'm not bringing, I'm just putting them in the streets of Chicago. Like I literally took a table and I just put it in an alley, and I woke up this morning and it was not there anymore. So I was like, this works.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah,
that's how you do it. All right, I am going to bring this up because as mentioned, Mario's moving to the Virginia area. The NFL team closest to you would become the Commanders, correct?
Sadly.
Okay, so my point is this. Do you remember when I told you when we're talking about the Commanders, how I trust nothing the Commanders are doing this entire offseason? I do love Jaden Daniels. But, man, when you sign Austin Eckler, who, by the way, just got married this weekend. Congratulations. Austin Eckler, Michael Davis, McManus, the kicker. Like, you're doing a really good job over there. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Yeah. I told you, man, the Commanders were a train wreck. Look at that.
Who's been arguing?
Disaster. Poor Dan Quinn. Anyway, did you pick the Commanders to finish second in their division, Mario?
Yeah, I don't hate that take still. I don't hate that take. Yeah. Cowboys will fall apart.
Complete mess. Yeah. All right.
Wait on it.
There you go. All right, we'll be back in a couple of days. We'll have some, of course, more training camp news or OTA news for you. Again, they say it's voluntary. Let's see which guys don't show up. Let me ask you, get a brand new boss with the resume of Jim Harbaugh. Do you have the, basically the balls to say, I'm not showing up? You got to show up, right?
You got to be a complete idiot to not show up.
Yeah.
We should talk about it
100%
next
agree
show.
with you.
Who's dumb enough to not show up?
Yeah, they'll show up. They'll show up. So we should have some news for you as things get going again, starting on the 29th through the 31st for the Chargers. It's exciting anytime you get the guys on the field learning the system. And then here we are. We head into June. Then there's some time off. You got about, not from us, for us exactly, but you got about 6 weeks off for the NFL guys to get their act together, and then you're into it, man. You got the 3 preseason games, and the season gets going. And someone always puts out on Twitter 184 straight days of every day there's football somewhere. So we're excited by it. It's just around the corner. So we'll be back in a couple days again with the Bolt Crew podcast. Appreciate you guys listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and leave the comments. Subscribe, give us the thumbs up button. We need all that stuff. So for Mario Heron, Josh Palais, I'm Dave Palais. We'll see you next time.